a tremendous tribute to my mother. On behalf of my brothers and sisters, on behalf of Bill Roomer and his family, I want to thank all of you for coming out today. Some of the people who have come here have come from as far away as Michigan, from Colorado, Northern California. It's just a fantastic symbol of what my mom was like and how she impacted so many people. We, as a family, really want this to be truly a celebration of her life because, as you all know, she loves parties and she loves celebrations. So, this is not supposed to be somber, but I'm going to try and tell you a few stories, and I want to thank Father Jack for just some incredible sentiments that he expressed about my mom. I think he took some of it from my mom. But, you know, it's all about the same person, and she impacted and made the same impression on all of us, I think. You know, she was asked to remind everybody that there's going to be a celebration of her life over at Molly's house afterwards, and that there will be valet parking, so take advantage of that. Dorothy Ann Meyer Burke Roomer. What a name, what a series of names that she had. I think I got them all there. But throughout her entire life was governed by several different characteristics. She had an innate sense of empathy. She had an endless supply of love. And as our friends across the street would say, she had an undercurrent of chutzpah. And that came out in many things that she did during her life. She was born the youngest of 7 children in Muskegon, Michigan. They were raised by her German Catholic parents, and they went to a German Catholic grammar school, and it was, the emphasis was on Germany in that sense, and not so much on the Catholic part. But she had a very, very loving and supportive relationship with all of her kids. There were 7 kids born in 9 years, so you can imagine how close they all were. And one sign of the faith that they had in that family was that her oldest brother, David, became a Jesuit priest. The second in the family, Helen, she became a nun. And the rest of the 5 of them, they ended up generating like 28 kids. We have 28 cousins in our family. The oldest, David, is with us today. And we're honored, so pleased that you and Ellie could come and join us today. David was a favorite of my parents, even though he and my dad argued until all hours of the night, keeping me awake during high school over the Vietnam War. Crazy things like that. But anyway, she grew up in Muskegon. She went to nursing school in Muskegon at a school run by the Sisters of Mercy. And then she graduated in 1949. By that time, her father had established a very successful laundry and cleaning business throughout the whole area of Muskegon, all the way down to Grand Rapids, which probably means nothing to anybody, but it was a big region that they had their laundry and cleaning business in. So large, in fact, that my mom's older brothers and even her sisters, they all went to work in the family business. And it was a very well-known family in that whole area. So my mom graduates in 1949, and rather than going that route, rather than going into working for the family business, she takes off. She says, nope, I'm not going to do this. And she leaves with 2 or 3 of her girlfriends, and they drive from Michigan to California in the early 50s at the age of like 22 or 23. And I can just imagine the 3 or 4 of them coming across the country. We made that drive when I was younger with my brothers and sisters. We made that drive twice, and it was not an easy drive. And that was with cars that were in the 1960s, late 60s. So I can't even imagine what that must have been like. But she came out here, didn't know anybody, didn't have any friends, didn't have any family out here. Came out with a friend that she traveled with. And came out here and she got a job as a registered nurse at the VA Wadsworth, VA West LA. The story goes that one day while she was there, she was standing in the nurse's station, and this Dr. Donald Burke turned to one of his friends, the Dr. Eric Yule, and said to him, hey, Eric, who is that nurse over there? And Eric said, I don't know who that is, why? And my dad said, well, that's the person I'm going to marry. He was probably attracted to her gentle elegance, I think, as Father Jack mentioned. She was an elegant but not pretentious woman. She was an incredible person. And one of the things that is kind of funny, a lot of my friends from high school and college, when I mention my mother, the first thing they say, she had the best posture. She did. That was amazing. I mean, she always had the best posture. I mean, you can see from these photographs, even though it's just her chest and her head, she always stood up straight. Even after she'd had a couple of back surgeries, she still stood up straight. And it was amazing that she did that. But she was a beautiful, beautiful lady. So my mom and dad started dating, and in early 1953, they got married, and they made their lives in West LA, first in Westwood, and then eventually moved out to Brentwood. My mom and my dad were really, really good friends with Eric and Kathleen Buell, and we almost matched each other in kids. Eric and Kathleen got married about the same time as my mom and dad, and as we got older, in the latter part of 1953, their favorite child was born. And Sharon Ewell was born about 16 days later. And it just kind of worked like clockwork after that. Allison and Cheryl were born about the same time. Eric and Marie were born about the same time. Tim and Tricia were born about the same time. But we were really, really fast friends with the Ewells, all growing up. We'd play at their house, they'd play at our house. One day I walked away when I was about 3 years old, and I walked outside, and we were living in what you call today like a townhouse in Westwood. I walked out and I couldn't find my mother. And I was like, well, this is weird. And I looked around at 3 years old, and I said, thought to myself, well, she must have left and gone over to the Ewell's house. So I walked down Kelton, up to Westwood Boulevard, which at that time was still 6 lanes across. At 3 years old, I walked across Westwood Boulevard. Some very, very nice old man looked at me and said, you want some help? I said, okay. So we walked across Westwood, walked down, and I walked up to the Ewell's house, and Kathleen answered the door and looked and she said, what are you doing here? So she called my mom right away, and of course that turned into a party. As usual. Some of our fondest memories of growing up, my family and I, when we share stories about growing up, we oftentimes think of Lake Arrowhead. And every spring, Kathleen and my mom would make an excursion up to Lake Arrowhead. And they'd find 2 houses close by each other. One that was big enough for our 6 kids, one that was big enough for their 7. And of course, all of us brought friends too. And we just had a blast. We had so much fun up there. So many fun times. Many of you joined us up there. Many of us had parents that invite friends up. We would invite friends up. And the thing that's always, in retrospect now that I have kids, I look at this and I think, this is amazing. She was never flustered. She was never frustrated. She never complained. And as Father Jack said, she never got angry. I never, ever heard my mother raise her voice, even when she was mad. But she was incredible that way. And she would have all these people up, all the kids, our 6 kids, Ewell's 7 kids, all be at one house or the other. And she and Kathleen would make these wonderful meals for us. They take us water skiing all day long, us and our friends. It would just be a blast. And she was never flustered, never got upset with anybody. She, coming from a German family like she did have rules. And she had strict rules. And she was strict, but never mean. And she had a few tools in her toolkit that she used to enforce these rules. My dad and Eric, both being dedicated surgeons of the old school of medicine, they were not much of a physical presence around our house, but they were definitely a spiritual presence. And one of her biggest tools was, if we did something wrong, you just wait till Dad gets home. Dad's going to hear about this, and you're going to be in trouble. And so that struck fear in our hearts. Another one of her tools was, she was the master of the royal we. As in, I think it's time that we mowed the lawn. I think it's time that we weeded the front circle, took all the weeds out of those plants out there. I think it's time that we brought the laundry down. I think it's time that we made those beds. And of course, we knew at the time that we meant us. But even though we knew that, she was just wonderful, and it made it so much easier when we were doing those various projects and tasks to know that we were engaged in those things together. Another one of my mom's tools, which was a big force in our lives for a long time, was Olga Maria, the Nicaraguan wonder. My mom and dad hired Olga Maria as we were getting older, and she lived with us for several years, and she's here with us today. She and my mom became wonderful friends. We hosted my parents hosted their wedding, and we stayed friends with Olga Maria over the years a lot. We saw them a lot. We watched her 2 kids grow up. They're wonderful children. They're here with us today too. It's just such an incredible thing. One of the last tools that she had was some of you might remember, it was called the Duncan High-Low paddle ball. One of those little toys that you have where it has a paddle with a rubber band and a little rubber ball, and you play forever with these things, get it to bounce off the paddle. My mom took this wonderful tool and said, this paddle would be great without that ball. It was just the right size for little fannies. And she would keep that up on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen. And I'll never forget one day, I had transgressed somehow, broken some rule, and I saw her heading for that refrigerator. She put her hand up. I was like a jackrabbit. I was gone. Out of the kitchen, into the den, through the dining room, through the living room, down the hallway, back again. And we had this indoor track at our house on Fall. So she was chasing me. After about 2 or 3 laps, and we got to the point where I'm stopping and looking to see if she's waiting for me to come around the corner. That happened for a while, but eventually, after like 3 or 4 laps, we just started laughing. We realized how ridiculous this whole thing was. I think my siblings were all at the dinner table too, and they were watching this whole thing go on, and they started laughing too. So I still got paddled then. And this is a kid warning. We have parent warning, kid advisory. In those days, that was okay. It was actually encouraged. So don't think it was bad about that. My mom's laugh was just absolutely incredible. And it was so infectious. And I think I can see a lot of people nodding out there. When she would start laughing, it was just an amazing thing. Because she'd laugh sometimes and she'd get herself so she'd be crying. Just tears coming down her face. And when that happened, everybody else around the table, around the room, whatever it was, she would just get laughing and everybody else had to laugh. It was just absolutely amazing. And there were certain stories that she would tell. And when she told those stories, we just knew it was going to end up with her laughing, with her crying, and all of us laughing along with her. One of the stories was, it was usually making fun of herself or, kind of somebody else, but she was sitting on the couch with Bill. Bill was in his rocking chair and she was on her couch. They were having their daily cocktail hour. And she was sitting in this really nice couch and she said, Bill, this couch, this is really comfortable. Is this down? And Bill, being the ultimate engineer, gets off of his rocking chair, kneels down and starts to look underneath the couch. He said, I think it is a little low. Another time after they were married for a while, she said to Bill, she said, Bill, have you ever had a tin roof? Now, some of you don't know, a tin roof is like an ice cream sundae with salted peanuts on top. So Bill says, I don't think so. They've always been wood or cement. But she had several rules that she lived by, and rules that she taught us. But one of the biggest ones I always remember her saying is, if you can't say something nice about somebody, don't say anything at all. And we've all heard that rule. But my mother lived that. She lived that rule. I never, ever heard her criticize somebody. And if we ever criticized somebody, if we ever said something negative about a person, she would always tell us, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. And I remember one day, it was really tough because we were heading to school one morning. And we had this really, really beautiful dog that our cousin David had rescued one time when he was up hiking in Malibu Canyon. And it was one of those everything with a kitchen sink dogs that we all come to love. But this dog was incredible. One thing about him though was he could not stay confined. We could not keep him in, ever. And I've talked to people all around Brentwood, up in the hills around there, Tiger Tail, and all the way over to Hanley. And they said, oh, that's your dog? Because I used to take him for a walk. He said, he's fathered more dogs around here. I'm not surprised, because he'd be gone for 2 or 3 days and then he'd come back. But anyway, this dog could not be contained. So we were getting ready to go to school one morning, and in Malibu, we got out of the garage, ran out into Long Hill, and one of our neighbors hit him. And we were, as kids, we were all really upset. We got in the car, and we were so mad. Oh, I can't believe that she hit him. I can't believe she hit him. Oh, she were all going on. And my mom, with this, innate sense of empathy that I talked about earlier, and never saying something bad about somebody, she said, don't criticize her. Can you imagine how she feels? How she feels. She was more concerned about this other person than she was about the dog, what we were saying. And so she was great to teach us. She taught us by the things that she did, not by the things that she said. And it was just an amazing, amazing way for us to learn from her and to get so many wonderful, wonderful lessons and so many wonderful characteristics of our own. After we moved over here to St. Martin's Parish and moved into Brentwood, my parents got involved with a lot of the families here, and we just made just wonderful, wonderful friends. Many of you are here today, and many of you are friends with the same people that we all grew up with and that we all loved. Eventually, a lot of the families got paddle tennis courts in their backyard, and it turned into almost a weekly activity with the Normans, the Melansons, the Smiths, everybody was there. It was just an incredible time. The Kurtzes, the Rumors, the Trumbles, the McGoverns, the Alice Slodells and the Agravloms, the McCullochs. It was just an incredible, incredible time. And we all had as a base the relationship around St. Martin's. And it was just an incredible, incredible time. Father Murray, and then Father Meisel, and then Father Kidney. And we all became such really, really good friends. We'd see each other at church, and then it would be like, we'll meet you this afternoon for paddle tennis. And those paddle tennis games would always go on, and then, of course, there would be cocktails involved, and sometimes the cocktails would come before the paddle tennis game. And any kids who were around were always welcome to come and join them, come and join my parents, and we oftentimes did. So we just had a wonderful time. It was all nurtured, at least from our family's part, by my mom, getting us all involved in these activities, which was just absolutely incredible. Father Jack mentioned my mom's cooking, and it was really true. She did have this magic pot, and not the kind that just got legalized, but a cooking device. And it didn't matter how many people showed up unexpectedly. My mom always had enough food. It was just absolutely amazing. We would stop by after swim meets or after volleyball games or after days at the beach, and we'd be out running around or riding bikes or whatever. And we'd come back, and she didn't even know we were coming. And all of a sudden, there'd be like an additional 5 or 6 people there. But there was always enough food for everybody. And she always was able to feed us and never complained about it. We never got in trouble for that. It was just absolutely, absolutely amazing. And then as we all started getting married, as we got married and had our kids, my mom and dad's love just continued on for all of us. And ultimately there were 14 grandkids, and then when Bill and my mom got married, an additional 5 grandkids, or 4 more grandkids, 18. But it was just always the love going on. So in January 1994, California had one of its biggest earthquakes ever, the Northridge quake. And about 3 months later, our world was rocked and my father unexpectedly died. And at that time, that was a big hit. That was a big deal, big for our family. But at that same time, we were all, my family, my mom, my dad, all the same group of friends from St. Martin's. We're still all getting together, including Bill and Nancy. Rumor had been getting together with them for all that time, but Nancy had passed away in 1991, about 3 years before. And so it was a natural thing for Bill and my mom, when they were going to these parties with these other families, that they would be dating. The two of them would go together. And so we as the kids were watching this, that's cool, Mom's got a companion to go with to these various parties and various events, which we thought was wonderful. But then we started noticing, they were getting together without the other families. It was something they were doing on their own. And then one time, they asked Cheryl and David if they could stay at their house one weekend. And we were all kind of scratching our heads over this, and my wife Monica said, there's something going on here. No, they're just good friends, But sure enough, they ended up, got to a point where Bill, as he tells the story, he says, I finally just got to the point where I said to your mother, I'm really having a good time doing this. I'm really having fun. And why don't we get married? Well, to all of us, we were like, what? Why did they marry that old? But it was just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we were so thrilled. We were so thrilled. And my mom was so thrilled. And the two of them had this relationship that was just an inspiration to all of us. The love, the adoration that each of them had for each other was so apparent whenever you saw them together. They just both loved to have fun. And they loved to share that fun. They loved to share the love that they had with each other with all of us. And it was just absolutely incredible. They really led a charmed life. I mean, it was just an incredible life. They traveled. They rarely ate at home. They were always out at dinner. And whenever any of us would come up, when we come up in Orange County, we get together for dinner with them, we'd walk into any restaurant on the west side, and it would be like red carpet treatment for Bill. And he's handing out cigars as he goes. Give this to the cook, give this to the chef, give this to the bartender. If he gets my dry Manhattan right, he gets a cigar. So Bill was just absolutely wonderful. And bringing the two families together was just an incredible story. Bill remembers, likes to tell the story about how he first met my mom. And I think it made an indelible impression on him. They were at some St. Martin and Tours related event, probably the Leprechaun Ball or something like that. And both Bill and my mom, they loved stinky cheese. And so they noticed the two of them were going for the same cheese over the course of the cocktail hour or whatever it was. And at one point, Bill looked over and he saw there was just like one piece of cheese left. So he started making his way over to the cheese platter and was just about to get it. And out of the blue came my mom with a fork and said, "Wait, that's mine." And took it away. I think that probably came from her, it probably came from being the youngest of 7 kids. She learned that technique. But Bill was so impressed with her doing that, and that was probably 20 years before they even got married. So he and my mom continued with the wonderful times that we had. They got us together. They got the Broomer family and the Burke family together. We would go down to Palm Desert, rent a number of condos, bike ride, hike, have dinners, have barbecues. We go to Alisal. We would get together for big dinners at Guido's and take over the entire patio. We would go to Pacific Dining Car and take over an entire wing of their restaurant. And it was just so much fun, many good times. And Bill, we really thank you for that. In fact, it got to the point where Monica and I, when we'd get together with them, or if we'd be at one of these events, or just the four of us going out for dinner, we would remark to each other on the way home, this is weird. This is like, we're like the old married couple, and they're like the young ones. They had so much energy. They had so much going on. It was just such an incredible thing. They never wanted to go to a movie or a play or anything like that because they couldn't talk. It was We don't want to sit in a movie and not be able to talk. We want to share stories. We want to talk about the books we're reading. Talk about who's beating the other one at the cribbage table. They just had a ball. Spent most of the year down in Palm Desert, and it was just, they had a wonderful, wonderful life. And thank you both for that. In the last 18 months or so, that my mom's health was declining, we were lucky enough to meet many of the women from Honor Care, and they really took care of my mom. Several of them are here today. We had Marguerite, Erica, Maggie, Estella, Kate, and Evelyn. And Bill and my mom, they just adopted these caregivers. They were absolutely wonderful with them. And I think that they love my mom too. They were just so incredible people, and they're all here today to join us in honoring her life. And the other thing that was so incredible, I said that Bill's relationship with my mom was really an inspiration for all of us, because during this time when she was really kind of declining and she wasn't able to do all the things that they had done before, the dinners, the trips, all of the other things that they used to do, Bill stuck by her side, and he was just absolutely an amazing, loving person. And Bill, we really appreciate that. It definitely did not go unnoticed. Did I mention that she was always thinking about other people and always trying to do things to make things the most convenient for anybody? So several years ago, I think even back when my dad was still alive, they realized that we kids.
And the doctors are coming up in 20 minutes.
Y'all can do it. So, anyway, my mom and dad set up a time where we would get together the weekend before Christmas usually, just with our family. So we didn't have to deal with who's going to the in-laws this year, who's going to the outlaws, where are we going. We weren't being pulled in a number of different directions. So I think that she knew that was happening. It was all going to happen on the 23rd. And she waited until that day to really come to the last day of her life. And I'm sure that she orchestrated this entire thing. And as we all got down there to her bedside, Marguerite was there, Bill was there, Bill's son Andy, our honorary brother Bob Neary. We were all standing around her bed, and as Father Jack said, we were praying the Mary, Holy Hail Mary, and the Our Father. And she just slowly stopped breathing, and it was the most miraculous thing in the world to be there to witness. And only she could have pulled that off. And I think that's a real tribute to her. So over the years, she gave us some wonderful tools for us to move forward. And to, as I was getting this prepared, I heard from a lot of different people, a lot of different ideas, and they were all wonderful, and most of them you've heard today. But one of the things that I heard was the most difficult thing to get used to after somebody like this leaves your life is to get used to the presence of absence. And that's really the feeling. So thank you all, and I hope to see you all at Molly and Kevin's house.